Welcome to Coast Creatives, a podcast for and about working professional artists within the entertainment industry. I'm Torrin Cavens Flores, and along with my co-host Joe Funk, we interview actors, directors, photographers, writers, and many, many more. On this episode, we'll be talking with our talented friend, Brett Newton. Brett is a film and TV actor with over 20 years experience in both LA and Atlanta. In this episode, we discuss Brett's company, Weekly Audition, a website aimed at helping working actors sharpen their auditioning skills and provide a supportive online community for creative growth. We also discuss the craft of the self-tape and tips and techniques to elevate your audition game. Let's dive in with Brett Newton.
How's it going, everybody? Today, we're here with our good friend Brett. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. I feel good. It's a beautiful day. It's a little muggy out, like warm muggy, but it's nice and cool in this recording area.
It's deceivingly warm out. It feels like summer right now, and I know the rest of the country. We did a podcast yesterday with somebody in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
and it's like 20 degrees cooler there.
Really?
Than it is here. Yeah, they're in the 50s, so they're in that area where they're all complaining about the weather and
right.
and
so
how overcast it
where's
is.
Where's my winter jacket?
Right.
Yeah,
They gotta get their winter sweater out.
We all lived in LA. We get it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So let's start at the very beginning. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your backstory. I know you've done a lot of theater, a lot of musical theater. You have tap experience.
Yeah.
When did you get started within entertainment and performing and acting?
Okay, so New Jersey, tri-state area kid, grew up watching my sister do theater. So at 8 years old, I started musical theater. Literally have done hundreds of live musical theater performances, from Greece to Oklahoma to Chicago. My first show was Chicago. My first musical was Chicago. I played the 12 Jurors, and I was 8. So just saying. But basically, I grew up doing that as a kid, and I loved musical theater in and out of New York City. I grew up in New Jersey, so an hour outside New York City. So did a lot of plays in Jersey and then some off-Broadway stuff as a kid. And I knew that I always wanted to do TV and film. My thought process was, hey, I love acting, and the real money is in TV and film. And I knew that when I was, a kid. So that's, crazy. So when I was 19, finishing high school, I was like, hey, I want to go, Mom and Dad, I want to go to L.A. It was funny because I was actually enrolled in Rutgers to be a nursing student. And, I'd applied to USC, did not get in. I'd applied to UCLA, did not get in. And I'd applied to a little state school in California called Cal State LA. And I literally came back from housing in Newark, and I got this letter, and I opened it, and I looked at my parents. I'm like, I'm going to California. So went to California, basically ended up changing my education to telecommunications and film. While in California, started acting, started doing PA work. I got my SAG card while I was doing all that. Started auditioning, started going through the frenzy, I was a 19-year-old kid, so I spent my entire 20s. I spent 15 years in L.A., but then I started my business called LA Reels with a partner back then, Noah Edward, who is a great friend of mine, no longer a business partner, but we've split ways amicably, and we are still great friends to this day. And then worked a lot commercially, did some TV and film as a principal SAG actor in Los Angeles, and then shooting tons and tons, hundreds of thousands, I could say thousands of scenes for LA Reels and for actors. As of today, LA Reels has shot over 4,000 original scenes for actors. I've worked with over 8,000 actors. My team, back when we were still a whole team, we shot and produced a feature film called Scramble. We sold that, we distributed that, and then, lots of individual small commercials, award-winning short films, and bada bing, bada boom. And then I heard about this wonderful land called Atlanta, and I actually came here for 2 months to see if it was real. So at this point, my now wife was my girlfriend. We were living together. She's like, Brett, if you want to do it, go and do it. She'll appreciate that I'm saying this to give her some credit. So,
as a spot-on impression too. I'm sure.
No. Oh shit! I fucked that up. So I went to Atlanta for 2 months. Now I had pre-planned. I was very meticulous and strategic about this. I pre-planned for like 6 months, where I was contacting businesses here. I was promoting LA Reels here. I was booking clients here. So when I got here, in that 2 months period, I shot 16 scenes for clients. I shot a 15-minute pilot for a client. I signed with an agent, and I started auditioning within that 2 months that I was here in 2017. And when that all happened, I was like, okay, Atlanta's legit. There's definitely an industry here. There's definitely a lot of stuff happening here. So went back to LA, went there for a year, gave myself a year to plan everything and move here. In that time, I was auditioning because I had the Atlanta reps, and so I was getting those auditions and I was planting those seeds. And I think the thing that I have realized, if I didn't know it then, I definitely know it now. But that year, even though I was getting auditions and I wasn't booking anything, I was planting seeds in this market. There was casting, there was producers, there was people who was seeing me, and that whole year that I gave myself, definitely gave me more boost when I got here. So then in 2018, my wife and I, who was my fiance then at that point, we moved to Atlanta, and, same agent that I had signed with the previous year. And, I still wasn't booking auditions. I think the first thing I booked was a little paid short film, and I'm a tap dancer. Bada bing, you mentioned that. Thank you. I've been tap dancing since I was 8. I'm now 38, which is insane. So I've been tap dancing for 30 years, but I haven't been focusing on tap dancing, so I'm a little rusty. But I could bust out my tap shoes and, blow some 8 counts. So just saying.
Today.
Yeah, today. So, bam.
Just bring your tap shoes everywhere.
Yeah. So, if you hit me on the street and say go, then I have to do it. So, so I booked a short film where I was tap dancing, and then I think I booked a couple little things, and then COVID hit, right? But everything stopped, and then basically I was like, well, now I got to work. What can I do to work? I can't shoot LA Reels. So what can I do? I can edit. Right, I can edit videos for people. So I did a lot of editing with people in LA, in the UK, in Atlanta, editing a lot of demo reels. And then I have this plethora of scenes and scripts because we've shot 4,000 scenes. We have 2,000 original LA Real scenes. That's all IP that we own. So I was like, well, I can sell scripts. I can sell script books. And then I talked to a coder, and this coder was like, well, hey, if you put metadata on all the scenes, like genre, relationship, age range, then I can actually write you a code, and then the code will actually put everything and organize it into books for you. And I was like, wow. I was like, well, if you could do that, can you do this? And then that's where we created Weekly Audition. And Weekly Audition is basically at its base core, it is a script delivery service. The idea is you go on as an actor, you fill out a profile. In that profile, you decide, what age range you want to receive. You decide what genre or genres you want to receive. And then every week, it sends you a new scene to work on. Now, we license you that scene so you can do whatever you want. You can use it to shoot your demo reel. You can use it in class. You can record it and post it anywhere online. But the idea is you as an actor, you want to be auditioning every week. Train for it. So selfishly, I created Weekly Audition for myself because back in the day when I was in LA, I get one co-star audition every 4 months. You know, that's basically was the routine. So one co-star audition every 4 months. So I would whenever I get that, those 2 lines to say, here's your coffee, sir, I would put that audition up on a pedestal. I would put so much pressure on myself. I would not be ready. My muscle would not be sharp, And basically the idea of Weekly Audition is if you're practicing co-star level auditions all the time, then when you get those auditions, you're just so used to it, you're ready to go.
Right.
And that's what Weekly Audition is. So weeklyaudition.com, so check it out. And then was working on that during COVID, finally changed. My wife was like, if you really want to change agencies, then you better do it. And I was like, okay. Wait, hang on.
It's like she's here.
She was like, honey, I
There
love
you
you
go.
so much, but if you really want to change agencies, you need to do it. And I think
that was
that
nice.
was
That's
better.
good.
Yeah, that was better.
I'd like to meet her.
Hey, careful. So anyway, I reached out to my current agent, which is Privileged Talent Agency, and of course, what they tell me, they said we're not looking for any new actors, no representation. I said, well, will you guys look at my stuff anyway? And they said, sure. You know, I had a little relationship with them. I went and I played golf with them. I'm horrible at golf, but I played golf with them a couple times, and they looked at it. A week later, I hit them up. I was like, what do you think? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure, we'd give it a try. And then literally first audition booked. And then I actually had an audition that came back from the previous agent that got a job that got put on hold because of COVID that came back. So I had 2 jobs right away. And they were like, oh, I guess this guy actually works. So it has been fantastic since then. So it's been fantastic.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wicked.
Hey, you just summed up a lot in under 10 minutes. You went over. You went through your whole career there. That's impressive.
You told me to be quick.
I did. But I've told a lot of people to be quick, and no one's been that efficient with it. One thing I want to go back to is you when you were talking about weekly audition on your website. You describe on weekly audition website. You talk about how it's kind of like an acting workout. It's like going to the gym. It's about exercising and keeping that tool sharp that you previously mentioned. How important is it that actors always stay current with their self tapes and with staying in class and just making sure that they're getting their reps in? I know it's very easy for actors to say, like, okay, like, you know what, I went to college for this. I've booked some projects. Maybe I can take my foot off the gas for a little bit and just coast. How do you avoid that temptation?
The thing is, now I've been acting since I was 8. I've been acting for 30 years. You know, I've been acting professionally for 20 of those years. You know, since when I got in LA, when I got my SAG card, I consider that when I really started acting professionally. You know, because that's when I was pushing to work in this industry. So, like, for me, there's definitely a muscle. There's definitely a muscle that's built in. Yeah. Right? Like there's definitely, you know, like you talk about 10,000 hours to be an expert. I think I have those 10,000 hours. You know, I'm pretty positive. And when I say I think, I know. But that doesn't excuse me not acting. You know, like I'm either in class or, you know, at this point I'm not in class, but that's because I'm auditioning enough where I'm working on a new character probably 3 to 4 times a week, you know. So now if you're at this level, you probably don't need a service like Weekly Audition. But if you're getting 1 audition a month, you know, then do something like that. And, you know, and even if you don't use Weekly Audition, read scripts, read screenplays. You know, like, I think we forget as actors what are our tools. You know, yes, we're acting and we're on camera and there's a visual thing going on, but our voices, our bodies, our script memorization, our script comprehension. Like, I had a buddy who just auditioned for Gotham Knights, and he brought me the audition, and he said, "Oh, I want to do this, and I should do this, and I think this, and I was like, here, look, here, you're this type of character, and this right here, you know, the 2 last lines in the scene, this is the arc of the scene right here, and I'm like, I know this because this compromises the main character of the show right there," and he was like, "Oh." And he was like, how do you know this so quickly? I'm like, well, I mean, I write scenes for my clients. I'm constantly reading scenes, but like I'm constantly shooting this stuff, and this is what I want when I shoot my actors on camera. Like, I know what I need from them, you know. So like doing this, shooting 4,000 scenes, being an actor for 30 years, like I think I have an advantage over a lot of people, but it's because I've put the work in, you know, and like wherever I am right now. But it doesn't mean that you can't have this. It's just you got to put the work in to do that. Read those scripts, you know. But that, look, script comprehension, knowing the show, knowing if it's a show that hasn't come out, or if it's a director that's doing an indie film, look at the director's other work, you know, and that'll give you a good idea as to why he was hired and what the vision is, or she was hired, and what the vision is behind them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But working on that muscle, like, you know, it's hard if you haven't been working on that acting muscle. It's hard to just pick up a script and be 100% confident and say, go. And now with tapes, right? So where it really matters is because we are now auditioning on tape, which I love. I love auditioning on tape, and not because I can do it 1,000 times. I'll do 1, 2, 3 takes and be done because I don't want to do any more than that. And I know that what I deliver there's gonna be something in there, and I can play each time. But I love tapes because now it's on our time. Now I don't have to drive, to Santa Monica at 5 o'clock in the afternoon for a 3-minute commercial audition and then be in that traffic for 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said Santa Monica at 5 in the afternoon. I was like, oh, that traffic.
Yeah, exactly. You get stuck on the other side of the 405. You're in a whole world for 2.5 hours, and you're not getting out. So.
And I can definitely speak to that. Like, I honestly lost a commercial agent in LA because I couldn't make an audition on, like, 2 hours notice. And I'm upfront with people. Like, I can't medically drive, and public transportation is kind of a nightmare in LA. And so I got this audition, and so I was like, okay, I have to make my way to Santa Monica or whatever to do this commercial audition. And on top of that, I was also working my restaurant job at the time. And so I was like, well, I'm not I don't consider myself a shitty person. So I was like, well, I have to get my shift covered,
right?
Because I don't want to leave them hanging. And so I was trying to figure out and balance all this stuff, and I couldn't make it. I just, time wouldn't allow me to make it. And I get an email, right after the audition from this commercial agent, and he's talking to me about, being unprofessional and all this stuff and the standard and everything like that. And then a week later, I got another email from him saying that, they're cleaning their roster and they're deciding to go a different way, And so I was like, well, and that was devastating.
Sure.
Because that was one of the only agents I had in LA, and I had him for a week.
Yeah.
But also wanted to speak on, because I love taping too.
Yeah.
I really do. It's efficient. It's easier for us, and it does take pressure off of us, which I think helps a lot of people. And I think what you were saying about weekly audition is you give the license and we can do with whatever we want with it. You mentioned putting it online, which I wanted to speak to, because I've booked 3 jobs posting a monologue on Instagram.
Right.
So, weekly audition, check that out. Seriously. There's no bad that can come from it.
I like what Torin's saying right here.
So speaking to that, what can, if an actor is using weekly audition, can they be posting these videos on their Instagram? Can they post them on YouTube?
We give you full license. There's a license agreement when you first sign up, and yes, you can. The whole idea is, if you're gonna put them on tape or if you're gonna shoot them for your reel, share them. Share them. The whole idea is show your progress as an actor. If you do weekly audition for, 6 months and, in that time period you're doing 4 a month, there's going to be growth there. Even if you're not in class, if you are self-reading, self-comprehending, self-memorizing, and just taping yourself on your iPhone and posting that online, there's going to be a progression of growth, and you'll be able to see it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, you are effectively building this community online for people to also, they can provide feedback on each other's performances, correct?
So there is an upload feature where you can upload directly into the program. It's an online app, so it's not like an app you download for your phone, but it's an online, it lives on a website. So yes, there is a feature where you can upload. It's interesting when you're building software, when you're building an app. It's interesting as to what people want versus what people use, so I'm discovering all of that right now.
Mm-hmm. And how has it been received so far? I'm assuming you had a pretty lengthy beta period where you were just getting a lot of feedback from actors, what they liked, what they didn't like.
Yeah.
And then making micro adjustments or larger adjustments
Sure.
to your website from there.
Sure.
How has it been received, and what sort of changes have you implemented so far?
We definitely have users that are using every month. That sounds so.
Using
Yeah. So there are definitely people that are using it every month, and I think for the most part, people are really enjoying the scenes that they're getting. The next part of it is to implement a way for more interaction or more purpose of putting an audition on tape or taping a scene. There's work and effort included in that. And what I always say too, I think we need to get better at taking the path of least resistance. So the things that we love to do, we actually end up doing them. So we can make an Instagram video instantly by going into Instagram, swiping left, and pressing record. If you could practice your scenes like that instantly, I think it would help. It would help people to practice. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Could speak a little bit about your own personal preparation when you have a self-tape.
Usually what I'll do is I'll look at the entire breakdown. First, I try to what's my role? What am I reading for first? Then I'll read the sides. But eventually during this process, I'll look at everything. I'll look at who the director is. I'll look at who the production company is. I'll look at who the casting director is. Because over time, you definitely learn, different casting directors cast different things, and they have different tone, and they have different pacing, and different directors, like you could see on IMDb who is a straight up TV director. You could see on IMDb who is a horror director. You can get a niche and an idea. You can look at a production company and know what their films are, and know what the tonality and the genre is. My thing is I always want to find out what the genre of this is first, because that's going to give me so much information into what I'm actually doing. So, and then, read it. I always go off of instincts first, and always off of what I can find in the script. And I read everything. So if there's stuff that's crossed out, if it's provided, usually there's a reason that they left it in there, even if it's crossed out, because they wanted to give you the moment before where it's coming from, or who these other characters are, or what a hint into the world, so always read all that stuff. I always read all that stuff. And then, I just read it a million times. I say it out loud. The thing is like, I think it's one thing to read the script to read the script internally, but again, our mouths, our voice are like, you gotta move your mouth. You gotta get, your muscles in your mouth moving, your voice moving. So there's that. Getting it in. My goal, if I can, without sacrificing performance or anything else, is always to get it in as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
And whether or not, casting directors say that they do review all the tapes, and I do believe that every casting director that says that they do review all the tapes, I'm sure that they do, and I'm sure they make a very hard effort to do that, because, they know what it's like on your end. But, in some cases, there could be a producer who's like, hey, this day got moved up. We need people now. And the deadline is in 3 days, but there's already 10 great people who submitted, and there's 10 great options there already. They'll look at those 10 options right away. And I know, like George Pierre, he says in his auditions, he looks at them on a rolling basis. And once they see the first best person for the role, they're now comparing everyone else to that person. So be the person that they compare everyone to, and you'll be the most talked about actor in that submission process of character.
Absolutely, because you have to trust that these casting directors, they know what they're doing.
Yes.
And so, you can't think of like, well, I'm going to wait a couple days because I don't want them to forget about me. No, if you're good and they like you, they're not going to forget about you.
Yeah.
And they are going to, they're going to judge everyone else against that good person.
Sure. And especially if it's one line,
same day.
It should not. Yeah, same day. I've been cast on a Netflix television show. One line audition, got it in 2 hours after the audition came. Next day got the offer.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And it's aside from the casting director and the production and everything like that, it creates a great relationship with your agent too.
True.
Like they see, oh my gosh, this guy, this gal, super professional. Yes, we're going to keep pushing auditions.
Reliable. I'm a casting director. I'm a producer. I need someone now. oh, that girl always delivers. Always gets their auditions in early or on time, or always gets their auditions in.
I really like the advice of getting it done as quickly as you can while still maintaining that quality.
Yeah.
How do you find the balance where I'm sure it's very tempting to just push it out as fast as possible and maybe gloss over some of these, like doing research on the casting directors, doing research on
Joe, it takes no time to do research on any of these people. It takes 10, 15 minutes, max, maybe, whatever. Okay, but the reality is, there are professionals, and there's always an actor willing to do it faster and better. So if you want to be competing in this game, compete in this game, and it's the whole thing, like with weekly audition, right? If your muscle of reading that script, if you can read that, there are actors that can get those sides that are 4 pages long, look at those sides, read them, know the entire comprehension of exactly what's going on and the intention that they want to provide, and they'll be memorized already and be ready to just put that on tape. I mean, there are actors that can do that. And I mean, look at all these, soap operas. Soap opera actors get a lot of flack for overacting, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, the amount of dialogue that they're memorizing.
It's insane,
It's
man.
insane.
I've had a couple teachers in LA who were on soaps, and they're talking about the lead actors, and they go, they do a scene, they come back, they sit in their chair, pick up their script, and start memorizing the next scene. It's insane. I mean, they shoot and shoot, and it's insane. And honestly, Tyler Perry is the same way. I was on one of his sets recently, and it is bing, bang, boom. It is go, go, go. They shoot a whole season in 8 days, and that is not an exaggeration.
No.
They shoot 120 pages in a day.
Yeah.
That's a feature-length movie.
Right. Every day.
Every day.
It's insane. Yeah. And it's possible. And, if you want to compete, then get on that level.
And they are like, they're the soap actors, Tyler Perry actors are some of the hardest working actors in that aspect, and it's insane.
You know how you can get on everyone's good side as an actor? Make everyone else's job easy as possible.
Yes.
Like that. What that means is do your job as an actor and deliver and be great and be professional, but do your job, focus on your job. If you get one take, make that one take awesome, and then they can move on. Like set costs $1,000 a minute, way more than that in many cases. If you can save that producer an extra take, you're a moneymaker for them, a money saver. So and look, I know, like as an actor, you want to be all about the artistic side of everything, and it's great, and you should be. You should take that pride in your work. But it's a business. So remember the business sides of it too. Incorporate that and be able to function on both sides of it.
Yeah. I mean, go in with a mindset of like being prepared to do one take and get it, the best you can. And then, it's up to the director or whoever if they want to do more takes and have you switch it up,
Yeah.
I mean, it's whether it's one take as written, or it's 4 takes with some playing around. It's all art.
Yeah.
It's all artistic. There is just that money factor in it, and that's okay. Like, it is what it is.
And here's the other thing that I think a lot of actors always like. It's because there's a lot of fantasy in this world. There's a lot of wonderment of like, what the fuck do I actually do? And like I think there's a lot of actors like who go on set. Because I've had this happen many, many times in my career where the director never even talks to you, especially in TV, right? Like, you never even talk to the director, and it's like, well, what do I do? Like, what do they want? And it's in some cases, I would just decide it's not they're not there to tell me what they want. I'm there to give them what they need. I was hired for a specific reason as an actor, so I'm there. Let me do my job. That means I make my own decisions, Obviously serve the script. You were hired, right? You're already past the hard part. Serve the script, do your job, make a choice. Make a choice and go. And then, if no one says anything to you, it means you're doing just fine.
Yeah, do not get discouraged if they don't say anything to you. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
especially to, new people starting out, you're going to be getting these, these one line roles. If they don't say anything to you, you're golden.
Yeah,
man.
Means
You're
doing
golden.
good. If they do one take on you and then they go moving on, it means you did a good job. And yeah, you did great. So
And you're on someone's good list moving forward.
Yeah.
You save them time, you save them money, and all of it speaks to just what we've been preaching about the preparation for it.
Yeah.
If you work on a film set, on a TV set, and you're an actor, there's a lot of waiting around.
Yeah, hurry up and wait.
Yep. And then you jump in and you have one chance to get it right.
Yeah.
And if you do, that's great. And they're moving on, and that's very important. Is there anything that you miss about auditioning in person? You've talked about like how much you love the self-tape process now. Is there anything you miss about those in-person auditions? I
mean, maybe meeting people, maybe meeting the casting directors, the casting associates, or being in a callback with the director. I will say, I think I miss commercial in-person auditions more than I miss theatrical in-person auditions. And because I feel like theatrical in-person auditions, especially in Los Angeles, a lot of the times it's an associate or it's an assistant or an intern or a PA, and it's so quick. Like theatrical stuff is so quick. What I really miss is the callbacks for commercials, because that was when you were called back for a commercial. That was when you had the casting director, you had the client, you had the director, you had the producer, you had like a whole team of people in there. And my strategy to that, when I would go in for commercial callbacks, and I did really well commercially in Los Angeles. I had Alicia Stark, shout out to her, amazing commercial agent, the best agent I ever had before the agent that I have now. So Alicia, I'll say this, you're the best commercial agent I ever had. I love you. Thank you. But when I would go in for those callback auditions, my mentality would always be to get on a collaborative working relationship with the director. Talk to the director as if we were already working together, in those callbacks. And I was able to communicate and not worry or focus on, the producer's there, the client of the product is there, the casting director is there. I was able to just say, hey, director, let's tune in. Let's talk about what you're looking for, and let's collaborate right now. Because that director is also working for his job as well. He was hired by those same people in the room that I want to be hired by, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and I mean, that's what I would always do. And that was fun. That was fun for me, because it was like a day to play with someone else and collaborate.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you able to transfer these skills to Zoom callbacks that you're doing now? Is it more difficult now?
Yeah, I mean, it's less of, you don't get a genuine rapport. You get that digital rapport. Now, I have, like for instance, right? I had, the show Ptolemy on Apple TV, Samuel Jackson's show. I was up for a cop, right? And and I did the initial audition self-tape, and then the callback was a Zoom, and this was for a narrative television show. And it was me, Feldstein Paris, and the director of the show. And this is an Apple TV show, so it's a pretty good, pretty big deal, right? And I get on the callback and literally turns on, boop, hey, Brett, okay, you ready? Let's go. This is director, this is da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, okay, and then right into it. And, I had no time rapport to talk to anyone, really. It was literally like, okay, here we go. And the way that they started was, so they actually, the sides, in the sides it's marked off and it says start here, end here. But they had actually started above that, and they read the entire scene. So they wanted to see me, obviously they wanted to see me reacting, but they didn't say that, because in the audition sides, it says I was expecting to just start here. So then I just automatically have to go with it. Hence another good reason to read the whole scene before, So went right into it, da-da-da-da-da. I literally had like 2 small lines, said the 2 small lines. Okay, great, thank you, bye. And then end of Zoom. Whoa, I didn't book that. Like, okay, well, no rapport, no nothing. I got no feedback, in terms of in how, even if they didn't say anything, I got no feedback in terms of personal response, Okay, so no idea how that felt, right? But then I get the offer and then I get booked on it. I'm like, okay. So that's the thing is you can't read the room. You can't read the Zoom, right?
No.
So,
no, I've helped Torrin with auditions that are like Zoom callback, like setting up the computer and things like that. And almost every time that you've done a Zoom callback, they're behind. There's a very assembly line feel to it, where there's like, this is my allotted time, and it's actually going to be a half hour later than that.
Sure.
So when they jump onto the call, it is very much the energy that you're speaking to, where they're just like, let's go.
Let's check them off the list.
Yeah. One question I have for you, because you mentioned that there was this long space in the audition where they wanted to see reactions.
Yeah.
I've seen that all the time, where it's a page. Sometimes it's 2 pages before it gets to a quick line for you. How do you make it interesting for the viewer? Because you don't want to go too big. You don't want to be distracting. How do you
I don't believe
deal with that?
I don't believe
silence?
I don't believe in too big.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in being grounded and genuine in the scene.
Yeah.
Like in real life, we could genuinely be big. You know what I mean? But no, I get what you're saying. Like, how do you stay engaged and interesting? And I think that's the key word, is being engaged, right? Because if you're truly engaged, then I think the audience will be engaged. But I think so I had an audition that was like this. I had auditioned for the role of a lawyer, right? And in the top of the scene, I have a couple back and forth lines. There's 2 people in the scene. Then this big shot lawyer of the opposing side comes in. And then the woman that I was representing has this huge dialogue. And what I realized was the reason it's still in there and it's not cut is because they want to see the reaction of this guy with this woman saying this stuff, because she starts off normal and then halfway through this paragraph, she goes off on this woman. And they wanted to see the change in how this guy felt, So it's there for a reason. Don't neglect that. The casting directors are smart in what the materials they're giving you. It's there for a reason.
Yeah. And this is amazing advice that you're passing along to any actors that are listening. Do you on Weekly Audition, do you provide this information, and do you give scenes that are kind of what you're describing, where it's like we're tempted to do a lot of dialogue?
Yeah.
Do you ever have any where it's like we want to see reactions?
No, most of the scenes honestly are straight up like back and forth. I would say like, almost written like guest star to guest star type of scenes. Where you have good chunks of dialogue. Sure, of course, you're listening. Now, you can pick whichever role you want to play. The information that we do give for each one is the general age range of the characters in the scene, the genre, and then some character traits for each scene. But then it's up to you. You can totally go against what you chose and go for the other role. Most actors are not going to choose the role that has less lines. And it's something that I think we also need to work on as actors is, just because we're not speaking doesn't mean we're still not engaged and acting. It's actually, sometimes it's almost more important to really fill in those moments, and the easiest way to do that is just to listen and feel it, engage in it. But yeah, I'm working on a project right now, and I have a couple of really awesome scenes, but then I have a couple scenes where like I have like one word, or there's a scene where I don't have any words, right? But knowing what my purpose is, because I have other things, other scenes, like I'm like, oh, I see what's actually happening here. I see that there's a whole thought process, and I know why this guy doesn't have any lines. It's because he's going through something internally. Now I am lucky in that I have those other scenes to preface that off of. But if I didn't, it's my job as an actor to know that and create that,
Yeah. That's all wonderful. I want to talk a little bit about just how it's been for you in Atlanta. You spent 15 years in Los Angeles.
Yes, I did.
You've been here for 4, 5?
5, almost 5.
5.
Going on 5.
5 years. How has the transition been for you?
Doing that research of coming here for 2 months before I got here really showed me that this city was real, that everything that was said about this city was really happening. The opportunity in this city is great. It is amazing, and I'll say this in terms of the change. I was in LA for 15 years. I've been here for 5. I've already auditioned more here in Atlanta than the last 15 years in LA. I've already booked and worked more here in Atlanta, than the combination of TV shows and movies I booked and worked in LA. Now, given a big part of that is because I worked my butt off for 15 years in LA, and I brought that same hustle here, plus I had somewhat, of a resume and portfolio. So I had a step ahead, but only because I was there doing it for 15 years previously, but hindsight's 2020, right? If I was a brand new actor and I was trying to decide where to go, LA, New York, Atlanta, Texas, New Mexico, I would probably, knowing what I know, I would come to Atlanta. It's very easy to focus in on the work. It's very easy to, if you're really serious, look, in LA, to get representation, you're a needle in a stack of actors represented by a stack of agents and managers of needles in LA. You're needles in needles and needles and needles, and it's so easy to get lost. Even the agents and managers get lost out there, So then if they're lost, how can they represent a bunch of people that, that are also lost? They're just all lost, a lost family. But here, in Atlanta, there's real opportunity. Plus, the whole market shifting of being on tape, there's more opportunity of being seen, especially if you're putting in great work and you're getting it in on time or getting it in early. You will be seen. One thing I always used to ask for was like feedback, especially when I was a new actor. I would always ask my agents like, hey, can I get feedback? Can you call? Can you get feedback? And I had one manager tell me once, the callback is your feedback, So like that's the real feedback. That means that you're being considered, Now, you may not get a call back and still have been considered, but there's a million things out of your control that, why you're not going to get hired. There's a few things in your control that you can do, and a lot of those things we've already touched upon, Yeah. But Atlanta is an amazing place. My wife and I, we have a 7-month-old, we just bought some property. In LA, it would have been so much harder to do all that, cost of living is astronomical in Los Angeles. Here, it's very doable. We're back on the East Coast. All of our family's on the East Coast. It's nice to be in the same time zone. I'm very grateful that I can do what I do here and be successful at it. It's awesome.
And I think a lot of people, not just actors, but anyone working in the industry has to understand that it is evolving and changing constantly.
Yeah.
When I graduated college in 2011, it was still primarily you had to go to New York or you had to go to Los Angeles.
Right.
My film professor at the time said there's something happening in Atlanta, but we don't know what it's going to turn into.
Right.
And now, even outside of Atlanta, you were mentioning there's so many opportunities in other states. In New Mexico, I have a lot of friends that have moved to Albuquerque.
Yeah.
That's where Netflix's production hub is. They're going to cast somebody like, we've been talking about, it's all about the schedule. It's all about the money. It's about getting people in quickly.
Yeah.
If they have now just like a plethora of amazing actors in that city, that's who they're going to draw from.
Sure.
And I think it's a wonderful that we live in a time where you don't have to live in one of those two hub cities to be creative, to be an actor, to be a filmmaker. So I obviously agree with you. I love it here as well. Do you look forward to going back to Los Angeles or New York and working?
If I'm brought to LA or New York to work, I would be very happy to, but I don't think we're going to purposely move back there.
Yeah.
Just on a whim. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. If we get moved for the right job and the right opportunity and the right amount of money, for sure. But the other thing is too, right? Like, you always hear people in this market or in smaller markets, like not like the New York or not the LA market, complaining, well, but they cast all the series regulars and the leads out of LA and New York. The reality, I have seen more co-star actors turn into recurring characters and be on shows here than anywhere else. I have seen recurring actors turn into series regulars here. I have seen actors get leads in huge productions here. I have seen things be cast here that actors in LA would kill for, and the reality is, sure, yeah, maybe they do cast series regulars of a network television show in LA or New York, but you as a brand new actor are never going to get that opportunity to do that. Never going to get that opportunity for that audition.
Right.
So, needle in a stack of needles, like
needle
you said.
in a stack of needles.
I've had that conversation with a lot of actors before where they say that exact same thing, the exact same sentiment you just expressed. And, you do have to have that conversation of, are these roles that you are currently going out for? Especially if it's an actor that's in their early 20s. They don't understand that that's the time to start making connections and start getting exposure and start developing a strong reel to bring you to that next level.
Yeah.
And here you have that opportunity. In LA, it is for actors, it is a lot of like, where can I just get some exposure?
Yeah.
And you're even fighting for student films, unpaid student films that will look good. You want good stuff on your reel.
Yeah.
And here you can get good stuff, you can get paid for it, you can make a living doing that. And if it is your goal to get to one of those cities, then you can make that happen too. People in their 20s who take headshots with me, who are interested in going to LA, I always say, like, you don't know how lucky you are that you grew up in a city where like the industry is just here.
Right.
The rest of us none of us are from
Atlanta.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Like, we all had to come here for this. You don't understand how lucky you are. But if you want to experience it, I say go do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Try it out.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young and dumb.
Yeah.
By all means, be young and dumb on the beach. So.
Yeah. You've touched on it quite a
The
bit.
beach that you'll never go to.
I know. You always think you're going to, like, every weekend,
Right.
I'm going to Malibu.
Right.
Probably not.
Right. You know what's funny? Like, when my wife and I started dating, like, that's when out of the last 5 years that I lived in LA, that's when I went and did all the stuff. Is because my wife like wanted to go do all this stuff, so we did it all. So she was, she made my life better. She makes my life better. There we go.
What do you
I love that.
What do you miss the most about LA?
I miss hiking the canyons, and I miss the beach and the mountains, and I miss Malibu. I think if I wasn't in the entertainment industry, I think I would have loved LA so much more. I was 19 to, plus 15 years, so 19 to like 34, in Los Angeles, and I lived there my entire 20s, and I hated it. Like, there were definitely moments of glory that I had a great time, but I was a 19-year-old all by myself. All my family was on the East Coast, so just the time zone difference, it was hard to communicate. But, there's a lot of shit in LA. There's a lot of shit in this entertainment industry that's predatory, especially to younger people. It's all over, so that's a whole nother thing. You got to be wise, and again, hindsight's 20/20. I've definitely had some shit or some stuff, come my way that at the time I thought it was a great opportunity, but it was BS. But I miss the beach. I for sure miss the idea that, like, on a Saturday you could go to Malibu, or you could just hit up Runyon Canyon in the afternoon, or Griffith Park. I love those canyons. I don't miss the traffic. I don't miss everyone and their mom being in the entertainment industry, because everyone and their mom is in the entertainment industry in LA.
Yeah, a lot of people are over it in LA, that everyone works within the same industry, and it's kind of adorable how people in Atlanta are still kind of enamored with entertainment. People are just like, oh, this is amazing. You're working on movies. Have you been in anything that I've seen? And they're genuinely like asking you about it. It's adorable.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's adorable. It's exciting again. It makes being an actor exciting.
Yeah.
It's like you put the work in, but it's like people on the outside of this industry don't know how hard it actually is. It is tough. They only see the glitz and the glamour and the end result in the TV show and the movie.
Yeah, we had a headshot shoot yesterday with this lovely gentleman, and he was talking about talking to people outside of the industry, what he does, and they're like, oh, man, it must be great to get paid so much for just a half hour of work per week. And they're talking about a 22-minute, episode of TV that they see. And they don't realize that is hours and days of shooting. It's not just
months of prep before that.
Months of prep,
They also don't realize the years of work you've put into booking that one co-star.
It's like climbing the ladder with almost any job.
Yeah.
There's a ladder to climb.
There's no guarantee in this industry.
And there's no guarantee.
Which is why it's always important to have other side hustles that you're working on.
Well, and here's the other thing that people don't think about, right? Look at like a really well-known celebrity. you don't see them in a movie every year. You don't see them in a TV show all the time. Like, there are celebrities that will go years without working, you know? And maybe, like, if they're really well-known, maybe they'll get, like, a really good Marvel movie or something huge like that. They'll get, like, a really good payday for that. But if it's, you know, some indie film or whatever, maybe they'll get, like, $50,000, $30,000 or whatever to do that film, you know, but that's one film. So that's about a regular, you know, average salary for someone, $50,000. So they do that film. That's maybe takes them 6 months to shoot. Okay. You know, oh, they did one movie, you know, but if they only do one movie every 5 years, what else are they doing to pay, you know, their livings?
Yeah,
So.
it's like, you know, he gets paid more than $50,000, but like Daniel Day-Lewis, you'll see him in a movie like every 8 years,
Right,
you know,
right.
something
He
like
definitely
that.
has other things creating revenue.
But even like Dwayne Johnson, I mean, like, yeah, you know, he's this mega star, but even the big ones like that, they all have like side stuff going on.
Well, but
you know,
but
And-
also like what is every actor? We're entrepreneurs, right? So
Yeah.
acting is our own business, you know. But like if we're smart, we're reinvesting that in other things to making other income. So,
yeah,
Which
yeah.
in turn can make you a better actor as well if you're planning
sure.
projects like what we've been talking about with Weekly Audition and all of those. Like that ultimately is still helping your craft. It's helping you
Oh, yeah.
you develop.
Oh yeah.
If there is a piece of advice that you could pass along to a kid fresh out of college,
Yeah.
21-year-old, let's say they've never lived here, they've never lived in New York or LA, what piece of advice would you pass along to somebody that is completely fresh to this? They want to be in films, they want to be in TV.
You mean other than all the other advice we just gave?
Yep.
Other than an hour of advice.
I know it's tricky, but like if there's like one thing that you could pass along.
To a brand new
Yeah.
actor in the industry.
2023, what would you say to them?
You know, really, I think ground yourself first and foremost, you know, and what that means is, you know, ground yourself mentally, just, you know, be a solid person, know who you are. And then, you know, we just talked about it. You don't have to just work in this industry. So get a job, pay your bills, be solid in your life, and then build on your acting career. You know, build your portfolio, build your relationships, build your resume. It takes time. It takes time. It's not instantaneous. And all of your stuff, from your headshot to your demo reel to your resume, you need to be proud of it. When you hand that headshot to that casting director, submit it on Actors Access, you need to be proud of it. When you send that demo reel to a director, you need to be proud of it. If you're not proud of it, if it makes you feel funny when you submit it, it's not the right headshot. It's not the right demo reel.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's great advice. I have another big question for you.
Okay.
You have a 7-month-old, right?
Yes.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How has your life changed since being a father?
You know, do either of you guys have any pets?
Yeah.
It's like that. No, Zoe.
It's like that. Done.
Zoe is she's incredible. She's the most important woman in my life, and then my wife, of course. Honestly, things have only gotten better. It's crazy, and it's so cliche to say, but like when she came, the universe just gave us everything. I mean, given my wife and I, if we set our sights on something, we hit it. But, you know, so going back to the pet thing, right? Like when you first get a dog, the first 2 weeks, you're like, oh, fuck, did we do the right thing? The dog's pissing and pooping everywhere and, you know, and barking and blah, 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 you know. But then you get into a rhythm, right? You get into a rhythm. And I knew that. Like, I knew, like, whatever hurdles we were going to have at first, we would eventually hit a rhythm. And we're in a great rhythm, and my wife is great, you know, super, super supportive, and we're both super there for each other. And we just make it work. And, you know, she's a freelancer too, so we make our own schedules, so we can make our schedules.
We were talking about that a little bit before we started rolling here. It's just like the benefit of having these freelance jobs that you have as far as the scheduling of it, because that's what I assume is the most difficult, is being able to juggle between two working professionals.
Yeah.
You know, one of you isn't going to be able to say, okay, I'm done with my job, I'm just going to be taking care of the kid now. You're both
Right.
juggling these, and you're talking about you're flying out to shoot projects outside of Atlanta even, and you're making that work, and that's amazing.
You know what? We're just going with it, and it's going pretty well so far.
That's wonderful. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've covered almost everything on my list here.
Oh,
We've
perfect.
covered a lot of everything. We're a little bit over an hour. Is there anything with Weekly Audition that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk a little bit about?
You know, I think this goes with everything, right? So at the beginning of this, I said I was also building a course for actors as well. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about, I'm going to reiterate in this course. But basically, I'm always looking to improve Weekly Audition or my services for LA Reels or myself as an actor, or, you know, what I can provide. If anyone wants to reach out and has a question, Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at LA Reels, LAREELS.com. Ask me that question. And if it's something that there is a vast amount and plethora of information, it's probably something that I would want to include in everything that I'm doing. As far as Weekly Audition goes, you know, as far as LA Reels go, you know, for the services that I provide as an actor, or for actors, I am an actor, right? So I wouldn't provide anything that I wouldn't back. You know, I wouldn't provide anything that I wouldn't honestly feel would not benefit me as an actor. And the reason that LA Reels is the way it is, the reason that Weekly Audition is the way it is because it's stuff that I see that would work for me, you know, to be working in this industry. So, you know, yeah. And, you know, like with LA Reels, you know, when people hit up LA Reels to shoot content, I go through a full consultation, and I'm pretty thorough with it because I want people to know what this encompasses. And I think, you know, we talked on a small amount about predatoriness in the entertainment industry. You know, always ask questions. You know, you can always ask questions, you know, and you never have to sign anything right away or agree to anything right away. You know, you can always take time to soak it in. So just remember that. If anything is ever rushing you or forcing you to do something quickly or without you taking the proper research on yourself, then it's okay to walk in the other direction. So, yeah. And I don't know. I just went and flipped that totally upside down and turned that into something else, but
You're good. A question I have now is, how do you balance being an actor and having these two companies as well?
You know, if I could answer that.
And having a child now.
And a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't think about it too much. It might all fall apart.
Oh, here's the other thing, right? So, you know, like, you ever been on a pin for something? You know, you ever been on a pin for a project? You know, are you an actor, Joe? No. Okay, good for you. So, but like, okay, so you get on a pin for a project, and you know, usually it's like it's you and maybe two other people. And instead of worrying, my strategy to this is, instead of like worrying whether or not I'm going to get it or not, instead what I like doing is I like whatever material I have, I like to continuously run that material over and over and over. So if I get put on a pin, I like to keep running that material. And it puts me in a place of like, hey, I'm putting it out there that I'm going to get this. Yeah. You know, and that I'm still doing the work. But at the same time, if I don't get it, like, I'm still benefiting off of that. And mentally, I'm doing much better things than worrying about it because I'm already putting the work in. There's a million reasons why you don't get hired. There's a million reasons why you may get cut out of the material. There's a million reasons why a project doesn't get finished, you know? But, like, the reasons that are within your control is the work, right? So always put it forward and stop worrying so much.
You have to accept that a lot of it is out of your control, and when you don't land one of these projects, you resist the temptation to turn the blame on yourself.
Yeah, which is super easy to do. and everyone does.
Yeah,
Right.
and I was gonna say that same kind of thing. It's like, as long as you're working hard, putting in that work, putting out the best that you can actually kind of find comfort in the fact that if you don't get something, it might just be because you have the same eye color as another actor.
As the lead as the lead of their that's already hired. Yeah.
So it's like,
for sure.
Yeah, be confident in yourself, and there like you said, there are a million reasons why, but don't let not working hard be one of them.
Yeah.
Be confident and be kind to yourself as well. When you don't book these roles, it's not healthy to put yourself down for,
Or just tear yourself apart and go crazy. That's fine. A lot of actors
works
do
too.
it. So
Yeah.
why not?
This is awesome, man. Is there anything else that you wanted to plug? You already did a great job talking about Weekly Audition. Where else can listeners find more information about you?
So I have a personal website called brettbook.com, BRETT book, BOOK, brettbook.com. You can see a lot of my production work. And then if you go to brettbook.com/OCP, on camera principal, you can see my most updated reel, commercial, theatrical, some other stuff, some brands I've worked with, et cetera, et cetera. So, check it out. And then LAReels.com, LAREELS.com if you want to shoot a reel for yourself, or if you need some editing done, or if you want to shoot other narrative projects. And then weeklyaudition.com if you want to get your exercise on and get some scenes every week and just work the muscle.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for stopping in and talking with us today. We'll have to have you back in a year or so. We can talk about some of these projects you're currently shooting.
Yes.
And you can also let us know how it is now that this kid is running around.
Yeah, that's true.
And the added stress that is on your life.
Oh, it won't be stressful.
You'll be just fine. I'm amazed with how well you're juggling everything. It's very it's impressive. It's inspirational.
Yeah.
Well, now it's your turn to have a kid.
I know people keep saying that. Now that I got married a couple months ago, that's the next step. Well, thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you.
Great chatting with you, and we can't wait to have you back in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. All right, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, man.